Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm here with another story. My name's Julie. Hi. I wonder if it's just me, but I think no, it's not just me. I wonder how many of us have childhood experiences that we really couldn't understand or didn't have the words for growing up, experiences that happened to us or around us that could have shaped, in a sense, our spiritual path later on in life, or given us an open mind, like an openness that wouldn't be there otherwise. And so I have such an experience. It happened to me when I was about 10 years old. And yeah, this is a story that was witnessed by my mother, but that I have a remembrance of because there's a part of it I was conscious for. And why do I say conscious for? Because it's a big part of the story. Okay, so this is how it goes. I was 10 years old and hold on. Okay, I'm ready. I was 10 years old and my mother at the time was sleeping in the living room. She was not fighting with my stepdad. That's not what was going on. Our dog had given birth to some puppies, and she had set herself up with the puppies in the living room, and my mother was caring for the whole bunch of them. And so for a few weeks, she slept on the sofa in the living room to take care of the dogs. My bedroom was right next to the living room. And so one night, during the night, my mother witnessed something happen with me, to me, whatever, and she told me about it the next day. And so this is what happened. Okay, so just so you know, from my perspective, 10-year-old kid, I was during the night asleep, and all I remember is having had a dream. So I had a dream that I was outside my home, the same house I was in sleeping. I was outside the home. It was snowing outside. It was nighttime. And I don't remember the beginning of the dream, but I remember this part of the dream where I was kneeling down. I was knelt down on both knees in the snow with my hands in the snow in front of a man. And this man was kind of like bathed in white light, okay? And he was talking to me. I don't remember what he was talking about. I just remember being in that dream and this is what was happening. I don't remember before, after, or the words say. I don't recognize the man that was in the dream. This dream might have gone unnoticed. I would have forgotten about it the next day or 2 days later, whatever. That is, if my mother had not told me the following story the next morning. What my mom remembers, during the middle of the night, she was awoken or she was lightly sleeping and she heard something coming from my room. And so she looked up. Let's say she's in the living room. She looked up. The door was open to my bedroom. And I stood up from my bed. 10-year-old girl stood up from my bed, knelt down on one knee, put an arm up in the sky, like I was doing a part in a theater play or something. And I started speaking. Now, this just looks maybe like someone who's acting out her dreams. I was standing, kneeling on one knee, my arm up in the air, and I started talking like a man, like an adult man with a British accent. So this manly English accent voice came out of my 10-year-old girl body for 30 minutes. And my mother says she watched this happen in awe, like, what's going on here, like listening and mesmerized by what was happening. And I spoke for 30 minutes and she couldn't believe it. And she was, oh my God, I have to remember this, but she didn't write anything down. She was sure she was going to remember everything I'd said. But when she woke up the next day, because she went back to bed, it was the middle of the night. And so when she woke up the next day and was telling me the story, she said, I forgot almost everything you said, except in the end, I remember you said, but it is not yet to be. I said this in the British accent, male voice, but it is not yet to be. And so, yeah, that story, of course, it stuck with me. How is it possible another voice besides my own little girl voice could come out of me while I'm sleeping? You know, forget about even being standing up in this position in my room and talking for 30 minutes, but that voice. And so I didn't have words for this. My mother didn't explain what that was. She just told me the story, and we never talked about it again. I guess maybe we talked about it later in my teen years or my adult years, but it wasn't like this story we analyzed or ever tried to explain away. So yeah, that was my story that stuck with me. And although it didn't shape any specific beliefs in me, I think it really created some kind of openness to spirituality later on in life. You know, I've mentioned some other spiritual experiences in my life, one of which was around the age of 19 or 20 with clair knowing. That's when I started having clair knowing. And before that, there wasn't really any beliefs I held personally, or my view of spirituality was very limited. Okay, I was raised Catholic, you know, I had like some kind of upbringing with some spiritual tones. My mother was a tarot reader, so it's not like I had no one or no environment to stimulate me becoming more spiritually inclined later in life. But that event, the kind of channeling experience I lived and my mom told me about, kind of stuck with me. So later on in life, when I did become open to exploring spirituality and my own spiritual path, this is the kind of story I went back to and started wondering what that could have been. And that's what made me more open to these stories. And so, and these stories, these experiences, and believing there was something more than this physical reality. So I wonder how many of you guys have had experiences like this that you did have words for, moments you didn't label or talk about, but that you now realize kind of quietly shaped your openness to spirituality later on in life. And so if you're comfortable, please share those stories in the comments, because I would like to hear those. I thank you for being here, for watching, for listening to my stories, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Ciao.